It says the food industry is made up of a collective of diverse businesses that together make the majority of the food consumed by the world's population. How do these businesses decide which items to advertise and how much they charge for each product? Okay, so that's kind of where we're starting. That's going to be what we're going to be finding out today. So, one, this is just in your personal opinion. What types of food or drink do you see advertised often, and what types do you see very little advertising for, and why do you think this is? So what do you see, what kind of foods do you see ads for often?
Coke products.
Okay, so let's think more grocery store, but you're right. You're right. Fast food does go in there. Coke products. I'm going to include in that energy drinks. What other things do you see ads for? Not necessarily just in the grocery store, maybe on TV. Or, I don't guess y'all watch TV. On YouTube. You probably watch YouTube. On TikTok, they probably don't show ads. I don't know. I don't know how to relate. Okay, yep. A lot of chip advertisements. I was thinking cereal. I know Snap, Crackle, and Pop and Tony the Tiger. They're great. Right? They got all kinds of advertisements there. Y'all have hit y'all have hit two of the three that they mentioned. The only other one they mentioned was smoothies. I don't know if I've ever seen a smoothie ad. But they put Coke, chips, and smoothies. Anyways. Anybody think of any other ones? We've got a good enough list. So that's the ones we see a lot of ads for. Which ones do we see very few ads for? Vegetables. Yeah, who wants those? Not me. Anything else you don't see an ad for? Fruit? Milk?
No, that's not true.
Where do you see milk ads?
Got milk?
Okay. Eggs?
Yeah.
You seen an egg advertisement? Sliced bread? You seen a sliced bread advertisement? Now, I guess if I go back to Ricky Bobby, he drove the Wonder Bread car in Talladega Nights, so I guess that's a ad for bread, but I don't think that's real. All right, so we kind of got an idea of what we see ads for, what we don't see ads for. Why do you think this is?
Because those foods are lame.
Oh, lame? That's not quite what they're looking for.
Because people already get them.
Yeah, pretty much. Why do you need to advertise something that you have to do anyways? Are you going to go buy milk and bread? Probably, because there's tornado threats. I guess it's like snow now. We need milk and bread. Crazy. But I remember used to, you could buy a 2-liter Coke for 99 cents. Sometimes it was $1.50, but it would go on sale for 99 cents. And if it was on sale, you stocked up. You got all the 99-cent Cokes you could. I don't know if you can find a 2-liter for 99 cents anymore. But, go ahead. Yeah, I remember when I get a soda for a nickel out of the machine. Not quite. So the reason why, they said some companies don't need to advertise things that people will naturally buy and need. So I'm just going to put less ads needed for necessities. Flour. When's the last time you saw a flour advertisement? Sugar. Okay, 2, the lines below model the possible relationship between the price and number of customers for 2 popular supermarket purchases, baby formula and soft drinks. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. The x-axis represents the price, so whatever it is they're charging for these food. What am I looking for? These purchases. There we go. This is what they're charging for the purchases. The Y value represents how many customers in the millions they have. So what kind of relationship do you see happening here?
As the price goes up, the customers.
That's it. As price increases, number of customers decreases. You have? Okay. This first. They are linear. Anything else you notice? For this, they're wanting you to really put on your business cap. If you were a CEO of one of these companies or something like that.
The cost of the soft drinks goes down faster than I don't know. It does it more than the formula one does.
So you're looking at the slope
Yes.
of the line for the soft drinks. So as the price increases for soft drinks, the customers drastically quit buying it more quickly than baby formula. Why? Because a soft drink is not as much of a necessity as baby formula is, right? So let's say how could we word that? As prices increase, can y'all see the green? Oh, I'm gonna change it. As prices increase, customers stop buying soft drinks more quickly than baby formula. All right, and then there's really one other thing that they have got on here that's a notice. It'd probably been harder for me to have caught on to this one. But if you look, the number of customers for soft drinks at its peak is way higher. There's a lot more of a market for soft drinks than there are for formula. So that's kind of why it's a little surprising that they quit buying it as quickly, even though the market is so much bigger for that. But again, it goes back to being a necessity. So the way they word that is they just say, another thing they notice, the market for soft drinks is much larger. And then, what's something you might wonder about these graphs? There's really no right or wrong. I wouldn't be good at answering this question. I'm not a big wonderer. Anybody got a question about the graphs? They wonder something? what they wrote was, how did the companies figure out this kind of data? That would be their wonder. I guess they charge different prices, right? And see how the customers, but that's the wonder that they had listed. B, which customer base, formula or soft drinks, is more swayed by an increase in price, and how do you know? Soft drinks. So I would say soft drinks is more swayed by price increases. And how do we know that? That's really what it boils down to. The way they said it was the slope is steeper. There it is. So the change in customers per price increase. Let me read again. The slope is steeper. So the change in customers per price increase is higher. So again, the real reason you know is because the slope of that line is steeper. And that would be sufficient. That other, I don't think you need to know that. Calculate the company's revenue for each item when the price is $10 and when the price is $45. So here in this column, we're looking when the price is $10. So for soft drinks, when it's $10, they have 200 million customers, which means what would be their revenue? Yeah, revenue is how much money you bring in. So it's not the profit. It's just exactly how much cash do you bring in. So if I get 200 million customers at $10 each, 2,000 million.
Yes.
So that's the way they have actually listed it, is 2,000 millions, which is just 2 billion. Either way, 2,000 millions is 2 billion. Huh? They've literally listed 2,000 million. Which I think is an awful way to list that. What about for formula? If I charge $10 and it's 78 million customers I have. 780 million. You could write all the zeros if you wanted to. To me, I think at a certain point you get so many zeros at the end that the number quits meaning anything to you. You're like, I don't even know what that even is talking about. Right now, what happens when the price is $45 per purchase? For soft drinks, there's only 30 million customers now. So that would be 30 million times 45. That's right. It'd be 1.35 billion. Or 1,350 million, right, if you want to write it that way. And then if I charge $45 for formula, I would still have 52 million customers, which would be 2.34 billion, right? 2,340 millions. So then the question is it always a good idea for food companies to charge more? Should they always charge more? If you run in the food company, is it always a good idea to charge more? Well, for the soft drinks charging more, they lost over $500 million, right? They went from $2 billion they were making to $1.35 billion that they're making. Whereas the formula, when they increased their price, they did increase their revenue because people are still having to buy it because it's more of a necessity, like what we were saying before. So is it always a good idea? Not always. You're going to see all kinds of questions like this. Is this true in every situation? Well, you just have to find a counterexample. So not always. Sometimes, if you overcharge, you lose too many customers. And then it says, but for some foods, they are more of a necessity for survival, and so they can actually increase the price and still be profitable. But I don't think that's necessary. Any questions on that page? So the first thing I see when I'm looking at this graph is there are no labels on the axes, on the X and Y axis. So I'm going to write those in because it helps give me an idea of what's happening. So when I read, it says the X-axis represents the price of formula. So down here, the X-axis, this is price. So that's how much we're charging. And then the Y-axis is our revenue, which means how much money we're making. Oh, it says there, label the Y-axis revenue and the X-axis price. Well, I guess I should, it'd probably help if I studied ahead of time for these things. Anyways. So we've got this labeled now. So does each equal increase in price change the revenue by a constant amount? So as you go from $20 to $30 and you look at that increase, is that the same as going from $50 to $60? No. And how do you know? Because it's not linear, right? So equal increase in price does not always change the revenue by a constant amount. It's not linear. So the way they said no, the graph isn't linear. Then they give an example. They say if you increase the price from $0 to $10, the revenue went up by $800 million. So from 0 to 10, revenue went up $800 million. But going from 10 to 20, it only increased by $600 million. So they're not all equal. Okay, if we look at number 6, let me see if I can figure out a good one. Okay, so 6A says the new intern at the company suggests selling the formula for $20 each. Is this the best price, and how do you know? So if you were the company, do you think $20 is the best price you could charge for your formula? No. How do you know that? So if you're that company, you want to maximize revenue, and your maximum revenue happens at the vertex of this parabola. So we could say no, and how do we know? And what they said was because according to the graph, we could charge more. And make more. You know, like when we looked at the soft drinks, they charged more, they made less. But we could still, like, it's the same stuff you were saying. As you charge more, we could make more. They're leading up to finding what is the optimal price. I'm sure that's going to be one of the questions. Again, I have not looked ahead.
Yes.
Okay, I figured. Because, I mean, that's what we're getting to. If I look at B, the second intern suggests selling the formula for $80 each. Is this the best price? No. And how do we know? It actually does start decreasing the sales. And we see from 80, we could actually charge less and make more. Like how here if they said we could charge more and still make more. Well, here we see we could charge less and make more. So what they're really getting you to is the best price is somewhere in the middle. You can charge too much or too little. So is this the best price? No. How do we know? We could charge less and make more. And so then C says, if the goal is to make the most money, what is the optimal price for the formula? It's right around $60, right? So the way they said it's roughly $60. You could say approximately. And how do we know this is the optimal price? Right, you might lose some customers, but you can still maximize the price. Because remember, none of these numbers here tell us how many customers we actually have. Remember, the x-axis is what we're charging, the y-axis is what we're making. So be careful what word you choose, because that will be something they look for in grade. So what I would say is, how do we know this is the optimal? Just like you said, it's the vertex of the parabola. They said revenue is at its peak. I'm maxing out the revenue. And what is that revenue? It looks like it's over 2,400 million. So it'd be over $2.4 billion. At what price does the company make no money on formula? So when is their revenue zero? Let me see if I can bring this to the front. Yeah, so if they're making no money, we're looking for where the revenue is zero. So where's the revenue zero?
Zero.
If they charge nothing, they make nothing.
And 117.
And about $117. What happens here? They charge way so much that people aren't going to afford it, or they're going to find an alternative. They're no longer going to purchase their brand, no matter how good it is. So there are two prices that the company actually makes no money. It would be at $0 and around $117. And so they say, explain what's happening here, the why. So what's happening when you charge $0? If you give it away for free, You make no money. And then what about the other point we looked at? If you charge 117, exactly. So each of those x-intercepts, right, hopefully you know that's what those are, represents actually something different happening. Both of them, you're making no money, but they're for different reasons why you're making no money. And then 8, when or why might companies use factors besides revenue to determine their prices? So if I was only a businessman, I'm definitely charging right at $60 per appointment. When are some situations when you may not be wanting to maximize your revenue, though?
More like maximum customers.
Right, so sometimes building your brand might be more important. So the less you charge, you might not be maxing your money you're making now, but you might have customers for longer in the long run, growing your company. What's another reason? I think that's perfect. I'm going to think of another reason you might not be trying to maximize your revenue. Okay, so try to keep other competitors out. That's true. That goes kind of back with what she's saying of I'm trying to build my brand so it's above the other brands, right? So competitors could be a reason why. They say think about the consequences of charging too much for baby formula. You're keeping people who need it from being able to afford it. So maybe you don't actually want to maximize your revenue because you're providing a necessity. Or if I'm Coca-Cola, I should be all about maximizing my revenue. If I'm a baby formula company, toilet paper company, right? People need this. It's a necessity. If I'm a milk company, what it makes me think of is like, did you know that airplanes don't fly as fast as they can to get from one place to another? Do you know why they don't fly as fast as they can? What would happen if they went faster? You use more gas. So the more gas they use, the less money they make. So they've got to charge more for the ticket. So they're providing a service for someone, getting them from one place to another. But on the flip side, they could go much slower and save more gas, but it would take you about as long as it does to drive if you're flying at 100 miles an hour in the air. That's not going to quite get you where you need to go as quickly either. So everything has a trade-off. Sometimes you're not always maximizing revenue.